Welcome back, YouTube, to another FPL Family video with me, Lee, and this is Sam. And Sam, yesterday we said, when we did our first video, price reveals video, we said we'd be back soon. And here we are, because today we had the remaining 11 teams releasing some of, if not all of, their FPL prices today on Twitter. Every 45 minutes again, we had the drip feed throughout the day. Have you enjoyed the way that the prices have been revealed this season? Or did you prefer it kind of player by player, very few price reveals, and then bang the game? You liked it this year?
No, I've enjoyed it this way.
It's been good, right?
Yeah, because I think in my head now, I've got like most of a squad.
You've got a spreadsheet going already, I know this.
Well, the maths going on in my brain today has been extreme, where I'm thinking, oh, this one, that one, this one, that one. And then I was...
You're starting to build a bit of a squad already,
are
you?
Kind of
I bet you are.
It's kind of like 8 or 9 that I'm like, you're a bit of a lock. Like, I can
Any
see
players that we haven't had prices for yet that you really want to know?
Yeah, it's the Chelsea boys.
Chelsea
for me.
boys?
I only have 4 of them so far. I want all of the Chelsea boys. It's impossible.
So there we go, Chelsea. Get your fingers out. Or actually, official FPL.
Get
your fingers out, because the next logical step from the last 2 days is to get this game released. It can't be too far away, can it? Surely.
Well, it's not normally, is it? Normally in seasons gone by, we get maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 players. And then bang.
And then it's done.
There's the game. This time around, we've probably got like half the game of players.
Yeah.
So now I'm
ready. We're ready, guys. Come on, let's get this game on.
The clubs are clearly ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, there we go, guys. Get in the comments below. I want to know if there's any players whose prices we haven't had yet. Who are you looking forward to seeing when this game finally launches in full? Who have you got your eye on? If you're already starting to, Kai Havertz, Havertz. And if you're starting to build a squad in your head already, get again in the comments. I want to see who the key picks are. Who's everybody going for? You're going for Sanchez in goal. We're going Rafinha. Foden. We have Foden's price.
No.
We haven't had Foden's price. There's another one we've got to look out for.
Come on now.
And of course, guys, if you are new to the FPL Family YouTube channel, as many of you will be at the start of a new season, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little notify bell. We'll be doing live streams every Sunday night, usually about 8:30. After all the games have gone on, and we can assess what's happened from an FPL perspective. But also, we'll be doing videos throughout the season as well, bits and pieces here and there. So hit that notify bell. Whenever we do a new video, you'll be the first to watch it. Sam, let's get on with some of these prices. And first and foremost, let's start with Manchester United then. So yesterday we sat here and we said Salah, 12.5 million. Probably got to have him in your team. Harry Kane, the same money you were talking about. I'm going to have Harry Kane in my team. Bruno Fernandes, 12 million. You can't have all 3, or can you?
I think you have to try. I mean,
you're going to need a lot of Watford defenders if you're going to have them 3.
Oh, I don't think that's a bad thing. I was really surprised actually with this Bruno price. I was fully expecting 12.5. It's just
you were expecting to go up more.
I thought that they would put all of them in the same bracket. I thought we'd have Salah, I thought we'd have Bruno, and I thought we'd have Kane all in the same 12.5 remit, particularly after yesterday when Salah and Kane were sitting there together. I thought Bruno makes a lot of sense. So actually he feels a bit like a bargain to me at 12 million. I just
call that a bargain?
Well,
he
look,
sort of faded a little bit towards the end of last season. He's not having a break because he's away at the Euros. Who's to say he's going to hit the ground running? They've got the fixtures to do it, United. Yeah. They've got the fixtures.
You can't seriously be sitting there. In fact, you don't have Bruno then.
Well,
I'll watch you play catch up for the whole season.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting for me, looking at some of the other prices, Maguire, Pogba, Rashford, yes, difficult to disagree with any of those, I would suggest. Although Luke Shaw, I think, also coming in at 5.5.
And Wan-Bissaka, all 3 of them.
All 3 of them in at 5.5. So if you want to invest in the Man United defence, you've got to go to 5.5. What was the goalie? Was Henderson and De Gea? What were they priced at?
They are both priced at 5 million.
At 5 million. So guys, get in the comments. Let us know if you're going to invest in the United defence. And if you are, is the goalie the way to go? Is either Henderson or De Gea the way to go? But Greenwood was the one that caught my eye. If Manchester United sign Sancho, probably a non-option. But if they don't, is Greenwood an option at 7.5?
Maybe. For me, actually, it's interesting that you've gone Greenwood, because I was like, Luke Shaw, locked in.
Wow.
Like 5.5, I was expecting him to be a lot more money.
Wow,
in fact, there were a few defenders that got released today that I was expecting to be more expensive than they were.
Funny you should say that, Sam, because on the blue side of Merseyside, the prices got released fairly early on today. And if you sort the fixture difficulty ticker on the Fantasy Football Scout website by difficulty, the Toffees, Everton, currently managerless, by the way, so keep an eye on that. Ancelotti, of course, going to Real Madrid. And at time of recording, we don't know who's coming in. We've been heavily linked, or they've been heavily linked with Benitez, with Nuno Espirito Santo. But quite at the moment, managerless.
Joining the managerless club.
A lot of clubs needing managers right now, but Everton top of that fixture difficulty rating. So their fixtures, Southampton, Leeds, Brighton, Burnley and Aston Villa, according to the Fantasy Football Scout ticker, doesn't get any better than that. So you're talking about defenders worth locking in. Luca Digne at 5.5 looks sensational value, doesn't he?
Super surprised at the Everton pick.
Yeah.
Actually, all the Everton prices caught me by surprise because I thought
I
thought Dominic Calvert-Lewin was going to be more than he is as well. 8 million for Calvert-Lewin this time out.
Do you just think somebody at FPL Towers has gone, well, I'm going to make the managers choose between Bamford and Calvert-Lewin? You just got to make that choice between the two. Is that why they're in the same bracket?
Yeah, I think there seems to have been quite a lot of groupings of players this year.
Yeah.
So the premiums are, roughly speaking, and we'll talk about KDB shortly, I'm sure, but groupings of premiums. And then we've got this kind of group of forwards, haven't we, that's got Calvert-Lewin in there. It's got Ollie Watkins, who's just slightly cheaper in there.
Yeah,
it's got Bamford in there. Yeah. So you've kind of got this wave of players, Iheanacho's in that sort of price point too, of kind of that 7.5 to 8 million. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, of course, also in that price bracket. Mm-hmm. I was fully anticipating Calvert-Lewin being 8.5. I wouldn't have been surprised if he was 8.5. But at 8, he seems like a really nice option. But you can't get past Luca Digne. 5.5.
It looks good.
Was fully...
But again, talking about price points, him and Shaw, as you've mentioned before, the same price. So again, are FPL saying, look, guys, you're going to have to choose.
Yeah, Creswell was in there yesterday as well, right?
That's right.
5.5. Yeah. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of kind of 5.5s. Priced, and these guys slightly below what it looks like the Chelsea defence are going to be, given Azpilicueta's price earlier today. So I think there is a lot of choosing that's got to be done.
Yeah.
And you look at the 5.5s, and there's a lot of attractive picks in there.
Yeah, I don't mind that though, and this is a strategy. If you're new to FPL, you can take this advice or not, but I've been playing it for a few years, and this is how I tend to play in Game Week 1, is I try and find the key price points. Yeah. I look at those kind of pools of players that we've suggested, an 8 million forward, a 5.5 defender, a couple of premium midfielders, and what I do is I try and pick based on those price points. And then early on in the season, if I've made a mistake with one of those price points, it should be, of course you have to look at the price rises and the price falls, but it should be fairly easy to move around those price points, depending on which players start to come to the fore and show some form. Is that the way you like to play the game as well, or are you a bit more laissez-faire when it comes to price points?
No, I am very much of a similar mindset to you. I like to have a premium in every position because it means you can move easily. If that premium doesn't perform, it's very easy to go to anybody else in the game that is performing because you've got the budget that's already set aside. There's no need for points hit. So Everton looking like a great team to invest in because there's some real value there, and as you've mentioned, fixtures are really nice.
But the uncertainty of no manager just, for me, just takes the gloss off it a little bit, but no doubt some good prices in there, and Luca Digne absolutely on my watch list. You mentioned Ollie Watkins a second ago, and we're talking about players we're locking in. With Buendia added to the ranks at Aston Villa, who, by the way, wasn't on their graphic, but they did release their full price list.
Thank you, Villa.
And I think 6.5 Buendia. So for a player that got, I think, 31 goal involvements for Norwich last season, all right, different environment, different team, maybe he has to adapt, all the rest of it. But surely the creativity that he's going to provide, along with Grealish and others in that Villa team, is only going to benefit Ollie Watkins at 7.5, isn't he? He's going to be the beneficiary of all that.
I was delighted with the Ollie Watkins price, I've got to be honest. I thought that was a really nice pick in that slightly more expensive than, the average, I suppose. He's sort of just getting a little bit more that you've got to think about it.
Yeah.
But at 7.5, in a Villa side that were so much better last season than they were to the season before, that really seem to have settled down and really playing for each other, have added well to their squad this summer so far with Buendia. Yeah. And Buendia, let's not forget, has got Premier League pedigree now. He has played there once before. All right, it didn't go that well in the season that Norwich came up.
Unlucky with injuries, wasn't he?
But he was a bit unlucky with injury. And I think in this Villa side, he will perform incredibly well. Now, whether Grealish is still there or not remains to be seen. But if they manage to keep Grealish and they've got Buendia and Ollie Watkins, that attack looks like a formidable force, and I would like to be invested in that for sure. Well,
certainly with the first 3 fixtures for Aston Villa, Watford, Newcastle, Brentford, before it gets more difficult in 4 with Chelsea then Everton, the first 3, I think this is a team where you have to place your bets in Game Week 1 on Aston Villa, and for me, I'm probably going to be placing them on Ollie Watkins, I would suggest. Answer me this, if Grealish goes to Manchester City and is 8 million, has he become more or less of an option for you? Because he's all of a sudden part of the roulette, isn't he?
He's much less of an option if he goes
much less of an option. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
because if you think about all the other players that they've got at Manchester City, the guaranteed game time is never ever there. At Aston Villa, he is their captain. The guaranteed game time is there if he is fully fit and remains fit. So
I don't know, Grealish in that City, they're going to pay a few quid for him, but they can they afford him and Harry Kane?
Absolutely, they can't. They absolutely cannot go over 100 million on 2 players this summer. They get done by financial fair play, surely.
Well, possibly. That's a whole nother video.
Surely they can't.
Let's go to the Blues of Chelsea. So we mentioned no Kai Havertz, who I was really looking forward to seeing in terms of price, but we did get Werner at 9 million. We did get Azpilicueta at 6, Kante at 5, and the goalkeeper Mendy at 6. For me, I'm a bit put off by Mendy at 6. That's just the wrong side of where I would have liked him to be for that Chelsea defence. Ditto Azpilicueta, I think. And I think this goes back to the fact that Chelsea defensively last season were sensational. Clean sheet after clean sheet. You can see why they're being priced at 6 million. So you've got to look elsewhere if you're going to look elsewhere. I, for one, I'm not looking at Kante because although he's cheap at 5 million, he's never really been an FPL asset. He's not that sort of player. And Werner, I don't think I'm going to make the same mistake that I made at the beginning of last season and go in too early on him. So I'm just being patient with Chelsea. I want to see what the other players come in at, in particular Havertz, in particular Mason Mount, and then go from there.
It's interesting, isn't it, with the Chelsea picks? Because I totally agree with you on Mendy. If he'd been 5.5 and was in there, if he was at the same price point as Martinez, I think there would have been a conversation. Because I think you can still have a conversation about having Martinez as your keeper for next season if you want to set and forget. But at 6, I mean, that's Edison price point usually. That's kind of like real premium keeper now.
But he's a premium. That's a premium defence you're buying into if you buy him, right?
It is 100%. So I'm interested to see whether they price the rest of the Chelsea defence at the same price as they've put Mendy and Azpilicueta. Do we see the likes of Reece James and Ben Chilwell? Do we see them all going in at that same price, or is there some variation?
Well, the challenge with those guys is that actually they probably have a bit more attacking upside than Azpilicueta does. So could we see 6.5 for Chilwell and James?
I mean, I can't see them being the same price as Robertson. And this is why I'm so fascinated by this Chelsea list. Because
Robbo's 7, isn't he?
Robbo's 7, but Van Dijk's at 6.5. Man City released Diaz at 6 today. So I can't see them being more expensive than Ruben Diaz.
Can't believe Diaz was 6. That's incredible. Let's talk about him right now, actually. Diaz 6. Yeah, I was shocked. I was expecting a 6.5. No doubt about it for Diaz. Because the way that he likes to hoover up those bonus points, and he's a threat from set pieces like we saw last season, and he's in a Man City side that keeps clean sheets at 6, and he starts. So he's, for me, definitely worthy of a look. But what else? Mahrez in at 9 million, Sterling in at 11, but De Bruyne in at 12. What are we saying about KDB? Is that too expensive for Kevin?
My mind blew when I saw this KDB one.
Right.
Honestly, I didn't see. Did you see it?
Same as Bruno, same as Mane. 12 million for De Bruyne.
Well, that's because Mane's in the wrong price point.
Mane's a whole nother video.
But KDB and Bruno. Now look, I am not by any stretch saying that KDB is a bad player, because I honestly think that he's one of the best players in the Premier League. But he wasn't consistently fit last season. He missed half the season through injury.
Yeah.
He's taken a price rise this season on the back of not the best season that KDB's ever had. I just can't fathom how he's 12. But then you're adding him to that conversation, aren't you? And I think that this is what the game's going to be this year. You're going to have to pick 2 of these premium midfielders.
This is it. FPL are making us pick, right?
Yeah.
Do you want Bruno or KDB? You can't have both.
And Salah. He's in the same point.
He is. I guess he is.
You basically, the conversation, you can have 2. You can have Bruno and Salah. You can have KDB and Salah. You can have KDB and Bruno. Or what's the other one that I've missed? You can't have all 3 of them.
Is Sterling in the conversation at 11?
Not if he performs like he did at Man City last season.
Got to show me a lot more than last season.
He has been better in the Euros, though.
Has he?
Yes, I think he has been better. I mean, it might be because the rest of England have been pretty woeful, so he's actually looked okay. But he has been better. I think much like Mane, at 11 million, you're not going Sterling. But KDB, he would be a tough pick at 12. You're basically ruling out Salah or Bruno, I think.
I wonder whether there just could be a bit more value elsewhere. And actually, for Mahrez at 9 million, That's worthy of a look, in my opinion, because again, here's a player that's not got any European Championships, an African player that's coming in, let's use the term fresh or more fresh than some of his European counterparts. Maybe he is a player that Pep looks to early on. I don't know. Lots more conversations to be had
when we get
about
Foden too.
The Pep roulette, and of course we've got to see Foden, and of course we've got to see who Man City sign, because if they do, as has been suggested on Sky Sports News today, sign Harry Kane.
No.
You've got to think that Kevin De Bruyne is putting one on Kane's head every single week. It's
can't have them both though, can you?
You can't. You're
going to really struggle to own both KDB and Kane and Bruno and Salah.
No doubt. You're absolutely it's absolutely right. Let's talk about Southampton then. Talking about dead ball specialists, midfield maestros, whatever you want to call them. James Ward-Prowse in at 6'5". Che Adams, who's having a very good European Championships for Scotland, in at 7. Walker-Peters in defence at 5. Armstrong at 6. What tickles your fancy from Southampton? Anything? I wasn't that excited about this one, I'll be honest.
I was interested to see that Danny Ings has taken a bit of a drop this year. So he is in
he 8?
Maybe? 8, yeah. So so Che Adams at 7. Not much difference now between them. Before, in the past, it was a bit of a marked difference. You would go Adams because it was a few million cheaper.
You'd save some money over Ings, yeah.
Whereas now that saving of money is much less. The defence with Kyle Walker-Peters in at the price point he is feels a little bit expensive to me, given that they weren't exactly
threat though, isn't he? KWP he showed that early doors last season.
Defensively, they weren't great last year. They were leaky. They were chopping and changing their keepers, who, by the way, they've priced both of them at 4.5, just so that you can't make a decision, or you got to go both.
McCarthy and
Forster, both in at 4.5. Okay. So I mean, you want 2 rotating keepers? There you are. Just have them.
I guess the challenge you've got with Southampton also, despite not being too excited about this, is it's Everton away first, Man United, Newcastle away, West Ham, Man City. If you look at the ticker, it's only Norwich that have got worse fixtures according to the Fantasy Football Scout website. So they are very much a wait and see for me. I'm not getting too excited.
The positive thing about Southampton is that if you go for an early wild card and they do start the season well, there will be huge differentials that you can invest in.
That's true.
I think they are a team that, because they're not exceptionally expensive, you can afford to just wait a couple of game weeks and see what they do. Okay,
all right, let's talk about the Foxes then. Let's go to Leicester City. Iheanacho was obviously a big favourite for us at the back end of last season. Again, 7.5 cannot be a coincidence that they've lumped him in there with Ollie Watkins and a few others, Bamford, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, all in that price point. Again, it's all about the price point, isn't it? You've got to make the choice. You've got to place your bets somewhere. Maddison, though, coming in at 7 was an interesting one for me. Injured a bit in and out of the team, lacking a bit of form, showed a bit and then got injured again. So maybe the inconsistency or maybe the lack of luck that he had around injuries last season has contributed to that 7 million valuation. But if Leicester can click again like they did last season and Maddison can stay fit, I think of all the prices we can see on the screen, he's the one that jumps out to me.
Yeah, he is for me too, because I have some slight concerns about Iheanacho on the basis that obviously European football for Leicester this season, and we spoke about this with West Ham yesterday, we haven't got a huge squad at Leicester.
Yeah.
They look like they're going to be signing some more, but it's not a huge squad. So we've got players that have got to play twice in a week fairly regularly over the course of this season. Now, what does that mean in terms of the Premier League? Does that mean we still see Vardy and Iheanacho playing together? I don't know, particularly when Maddison and Harvey Barnes are both fit. So I have some question marks around Iheanacho. But Maddison, I think we have seen consistency from him over the course of the last couple of seasons when he's been fit and available. And at the price point he is, I can see him being a nice differential pick in that midfield.
Yeah, because he's price point. We're talking about him in the same breath as Rafinha probably, aren't we, and a few others. So I like the look of him at 7. We know what he's like with the set pieces, with the corners, with the set plays. So he's going to tick over those assists. And I think if he was up in the 8 million bracket, I'd say, well, no, I'd want some goals to complement that. But at 7, maybe I'm okay for him to tick over. Never really going to be a captaincy option. But as you quite rightly say, I see a lot of managers looking at the way Iheanacho finished last season and going, bang, 7.5, got to have him. Maybe you have him and Watkins and save some money and pile into the midfield premiums. But I don't know. I'm still not convinced that Iheanacho is in Rodgers' best 11.
No.
I'm just not convinced. The only thing I will say is that Vardy at 10.5 is, I think, likely to see reduced minutes this season. He's on the way out on Vardy. He's getting on a bit.
He's about the same age as me. Can you stop this with him being off?
It's true. And maybe Iheanacho is the heir to the throne. But that is an unknown right now. And I want to see Leicester come out in the first few games against Wolves, West Ham and Norwich before a game against Man City, which I probably won't invest. So maybe first wild card, game week 5 or 6, I might think again. But right now, they're a bit of a watch and see for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah? All right, let's move on. Where else haven't we gone? We've been to Man City. We've been to Wolves yet. We haven't been to Wolves yet. The only club that put out this really weird graphic that was not in line with any of the other releases.
Where's the picture of their players?
Where's the players? I don't know. They've got just their faces. But Raul Jimenez and Traore coming in at 7, 5 and 6. What do you think of Wolves? Difficult start to the season with Leicester, Spurs and Man United before it gets a bit better for them. Watford and Brentford in game weeks 4 and 5. So for me, again, hate to reel out the same rhetoric, but they're a watch and see for me. And I want to see how Raul Jimenez gets back into this team. If he's straight back in the team, I don't know. I've not heard as to whether he's going to be straight back in the team. And of course, they'll be under new management with the new Portuguese fella coming in, whose name I always forget. Is it Braga? He's coming to replace Nuno Espirito Santo, isn't he? So lots of change going on at Wolves. So a wait and see for me.
It's tough. I agree with you. I really am everything crossed that Jimenez is back as an FPL this season, because he is one player
missed him last year, didn't we?
I absolutely love owning Jimenez. He is, and I've called him on numerous seasons before, FPL royalty, and I really hope that he will be in my squad for this season at some point.
And again, in the Watkins category, in the Calvert-Lewin category, in the Bamford category. So there's another player to add. It's
actually quite cheap because of what's happened this season. If he's fit,
that's it.
He could be a bargain.
If he's fit and he comes back and he's as consistently goal scoring as he was. Remember that run he went on maybe a couple of seasons ago where it was just like a goal a week?
Yeah.
Never braced, but just a goal a week. And whenever he got the goals, tended to pick up the bonus points as well, because the way that Wolves play is not quite gung-ho and shots here, shots there with loads of different chances.
New manager.
It could be.
Who knows?
And that's what we need to wait and see. So therefore, they are a wait and see for me. Let's talk about Southampton. No, we've been to Southampton. Let's not go there. Let's go to Newcastle. Losing track. Newcastle. The one that stood out for me, Alan St. Maximin. Reclassified as a forward.
Did someone have too many coffees when they did this one? I'm really upset about this one because I, as you all know, if you've been watching FPL Family for a couple of years now, I absolutely love.
You love St. Max.
I love St. Max.
Yeah, I love him too. He's a good player.
I can't own him now, can I? Because you put him as a forward. How can you put him? You can't pick him because he's now in that precious 3 spot. He was a perfect forward.
I guarantee a draft that you will do between now and August the 14th, we'll have him in there. And what'll happen is you'll have a Watkins or a Calvert-Lewin or a Bamford, and you'll need $1.5 million somewhere, and you'll be like, oh, could I do Watkins to St. Max for $1 million? Could I do it? You 100% do it. Everyone will do it. But elsewhere, Wilson in at 7.5, Almiron and Dubravka in there too. What we saying is Dubravka a 4.5 goalkeeper pick that you would rely on, given the fixtures are West Ham, Villa, Saints, Man U and Leeds. It's a difficult-ish looking start for Newcastle. What are we saying?
If you're going rotating keepers at 4.5 though,
okay,
I don't think he's that bad a pick, particularly if you choose to rotate him against somebody like Sanchez at Brighton. Between the two of them, you might actually have some quite nice options there. But yeah, it's not ideal. I don't think defensively they're that solid. I do really like St. Max. I do still like Callum Wilson, and I think he's got potential. But. And that's the issue. That there's always a little bit of a but that hangs over Newcastle.
All right, well, only the 2 new boys to go then. Let's talk about Brentford. Really excited to see these guys in the Premier League. And I think this was a team where I think they put their whole list out, didn't they? So
yes,
although
they did, yeah.
Ivan Toney obviously stands out, something ridiculous. Like, what was he, 30 goals or something last season? A ridiculous amount of goals. So at 6.5, you can see why he's priced a bit more than your average newcomer to the Premier League, Ivan Toney.
They put him alongside St. Max. I've got to make a choice.
Toney and St. Max at a price point now, aren't they? Yeah, that's a good shout. But Mbumo, I think is how you say his name, 5.5. I noticed he played alongside Toney in a slightly more advanced position in the playoff final. And also they have this other player, Sergei Canos. And again, not in any way saying I'm a Brentford expert yet. I do need to brush up. So if you're a Brentford fan, get in touch, get in the comments. Let me know who we should be picking in FPL. But Sergei Canos, 9 goals, 8 assists last season for Brentford. So there are some options, right? And Sergei Canos, I think, is a 5.5 million midfielder. So we can have a conversation about these guys. There's some good value, I think.
There is. And Mbuma...
Mbumo.
That's not right. Mbumo.
8 goals, 10 assists last season, by the way.
Potentially could be the one that's out of position here. He could be the one that's been wrongly categorised, because a lot of the starting 11s I've looked at this season have him starting up alongside Tony as opposed to in midfield. Now, if that's where he's going to play in the Premier League, we might just get a bit more joy out of him than as standard we get at that price point of midfielders. So he could be one to keep a little watchful eye on.
It's Tony's the one to have a look at, though, isn't it? I've just looked it up. 33 goals, 10 assists last season. If he even gets half of that for 6.5, that is good value.
Well, I think if you want to go Kane and then somebody out of that 8.0, 7.5 bracket, then topping that with Tony...
could be all right.
Could be the way that you structure that forward line.
But how do you pick between him and St Max? It's so difficult. Let's go to the Hornets then. Last but not least, Watford. Ismaila Sarr in another nicely priced midfield asset. I feel like there's a lot of premiums that I want, but there's also a lot of nicely priced assets that I want in this midfield, and he's one of them. Sarr at 6 million. Elsewhere though, Serralta, the Chilean, who I think is currently playing in the Copa America. I think I read the other day that he pulled a bit of a calf injury. Maybe he's nursing something there. So for 4.5, keep an eye on him. But if it's not serious, and I don't think it is, by the way, don't expect it to affect his season. Could be a nice option. From what I read on a lot of the Watford blogs, he is going to be quite key to their defensive solidity next season. Not blessed with a lot of goal-scoring ability. Only scored 5 ever in his whole career. But at 4.5 will get minutes. So maybe he's one to have a look at.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was the one that Ben Foster was talking about on the FPL show at the back end of last season.
He was. Yeah,
talking about how he would be a really, really good FPL pick for this season. And honestly, he should know. He plays in front of these guys.
What about Danny Rose, though? Same money. And we know what we get with Danny Rose. Bad defender, but he can go forward. No, he's rubbish, Sam. But he can go forward, right?
The problem I have with Danny Rose is that he hasn't played football for 18 months. So, and the Spurs pictures of him, he wasn't exactly looking at his most fit. So he's got a lot of work to do.
He's being nice.
I was being really nice.
So
he's got a lot of work to do in pre-season, but I actually think he's a really good signing for Wolves, and I think he could really add to their defence, which was really, really good in the Championship last season.
Solid in the Championship, yeah.
So if they can continue that...
More solid than the other two, than Brentford and Norwich.
100%.
Brentford and Norwich. I think Watford, of the three, were the ones that probably struggled for goals a bit, but actually defensively were right.
Yeah, and at 4.5 for all of their defenders, for me, that is perfect. You pick one of them alongside maybe Mitchell at Palace now, PVA's not there, and you've got this beautiful back line where you've saved yourself a load of money in 4.5 defenders who you don't mind benching, and then you get the benefit of some extra premiums as a result.
And the Watford fixtures don't look too bad. Second only to Everton on the ticket, with Villa, Brighton, Spurs, Wolves and Norwich. So not a bad start. Not a baptism of fire. It's definitely going to happen. I can see it happening. But Watford second on the ticker. So yeah, investing in one of their defenders at 4.5 wouldn't be such a bad shout. And if I was a betting man, I think I would go for Serralta, you know.
Yeah, I think
just because he's a bit safer potentially than Danny Rose.
Said so.
And Ben Foster says so. Well, there we go, guys. Let us know. There's the webcam. Let us know what you think of the prices that we've had, and it can't be too long before the game is live. So keep an eye on the website, keep an eye on the app, because it won't be long before the game's live, and we'll know all the prices, including Kai Havertz.
Come on,
and we can start
Foster.
putting together.
Oh no, I don't. I want Foden.
You don't want Forster. He's 4.5 rotating with the other guys.
Because we were talking about Foster. I had Foster in my head for a second then.
Foden and Havertz, the ones we're looking for.
I know what Foster is.
Let us know in the comments who you're looking out for. Can't be long, Sam, before we are doing our first draft. So we will be back, as you'd expect. It sounds stupid because we're about
we don't know when.
Weeks away from FPL, from the Premier League actually kicking off. But when that game launches, you better believe there's going to be some first drafts being put up by the likes of you and the likes of me.
Can I lock it so you can't watch?
You can do your own videos, no problem.
No, I want you to not be able to go on our YouTube channel and watch it.
You're not going to ban me from my own YouTube channel, so no, that's not going to happen. But guys, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, then you will know when those videos go live. And leave us a like before you go. Great to see you, as always. Look out for the game going live in the next few days, I think. See you very, very soon. Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys.